Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 9. Today we're going to be doing a episode breakdown for episode 8 of Season 9. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any DCTV videos later this year. So this video we're going to be talking about an interesting new synopsis that they just released for episode 8, which is going to be airing at the start of April. This episode has been titled Partners in Time, but also online I've seen it called Partners in Crime, so I'm kind of a little bit uncertain what it's called, but it would make sense if it was called Partners in Time rather than Partners in Crime. Just to tease you guys in terms of what's going to be happening in this episode, because we're going to break down everything that we know and theorize about who could potentially be returning in this episode, because an old friend is going to be back. But first things first, a big shout out to my top tier members: Nathan Bell, Flash Freak, Bradley, Matthew, Jose and Owlwatch. Plus also a big thank you to everyone else who is a member of the channel. Remember guys, later tonight Superman and Lois is on. I'm going to have my review / breakdown video for the latest episode, which is episode 2, out right after the episode comes out. Plus, The Flash is not on the next day, but we will still be live streaming at 9 PM UK time, so translate that to wherever you guys are around the world. Come, tune in, let's talk about Superman and Lois, and let's talk about next week's episode of The Flash, which is going to be featuring a Supergirl crossover with Nia now returning. So for now, let's go ahead and get into today's main topic. So this is how the synopsis goes for episode 8 of season 9. Stuck in the past, racing to the future. A seemingly simple mold inspection at Star Labs leads to unexpected time anomalies. Barry and Iris try to make sense of the confusion and figure out how to get back to their reality. Chester admits a secret to Allegra, which makes things awkward between the two, and Allegra relies on Cecile to act as a buffer. Meanwhile, Keone meets an old friend of Team Flash. So this episode is episode 8, like I said, and I still can't figure out if it's Partners in Crime or Partners in Time, but let me know if you do actually know the proper title in the comments down below. But let's break it down. So, stuck in the past, racing to the future. So, seemingly this is to do with time travel this episode. It's like a contained interlude kind of bubble episode where we're going to be potentially sending Iris and Barry specifically back in time in an alternate reality, but they're going to be racing to try and get back to the future, or maybe they're going to be actually going to the future. I don't know what this specifically means, but let me know what you think stuck in the past, racing to the future is intended to say in the synopsis. Let's move on to the next bit. A seemingly simple mold inspection at Star Labs leads to unexpected time anomalies. So first question, and I think it's an obvious question, is why is a mold inspection going to lead to time anomalies? So my main thought goes straight to, okay, this is at Star Labs, this is where the particle accelerator was, so there's bound to be like shreds of black matter all around, especially in the room where the particle accelerator went off. So what happens if this mold has somehow like blended and merged with this dark matter that is still present within Star Labs? I guess it would be similar to the way that normal humans, when the particle accelerator went off and the dark matter was released across Central City, it altered people's DNA. And the same thing could happen to molds, because mold, if you guys didn't know, I'm sure you've probably experienced mold at different times. It's a thing that grows in places where there's like a lot of moisture, so it can be around like windows or in walls or on the roof. And so if you've ever seen mold, you know it develops over time, and it's a type of fungi. So basically it has its own properties, it has its own cells, so I don't think it's too far-fetched to assume that some dark matter could infuse with mold and cause some anomalies. So in this case, obviously this being the Flash and this being Star Labs where the particle accelerator went off and there's plenty of dark matter probably left over, it makes sense that maybe the time anomalies have literally been started by this mold because they've started merging, and maybe on inspection, and I don't know who's the inspector going around, it could just be Team Flash, but it would make sense if they hired someone else to come in. Maybe that person has somehow disappears because of this time anomalies that have started, and there's always the chance that Barry and Iris are the ones that are inspecting it, but they could just be like, where is this guy gone? And so they go and they try and make sense of the confusion and figure out how to get back to their reality. So there you have it. That is confirmation that Barry and Iris are going to be affected by whatever's happening in Star Labs, and they're going to be sent to a different reality. We don't know if this is a different timeline. We don't know if this is just like a weird kind of time anomaly that's going to put them in like this different pocket in the universe. We have no idea, but what I can say is it sounds really fun. It sounds like a good interlude episode, especially after the previous interlude episode that we just got. And obviously this episode is going to come after the Nier episode, which I believe is going to be good and an interesting episode. And then after this, episode 9 is going to be the return of Oliver Queen. So I think we're in for a good stretch of episodes, then we're on to the final graphic novel. And if this episode is actually titled Partners in Time, it makes sense because Barry and Iris are partners in the literal sense, but also like they are always working together as well as part of Team Flash, and they are stuck in time together, so they need to figure out the confusion and figure out how to get back to their normal reality. And like I said, I don't know how big this is going to be. Is it going to be like a major timeline shift, or is it just going to be like a small anomaly that Barry and Iris are going to get swept up in, and they're just going to have to try and get back to their reality? But by the way that the first line of the synopsis teases, seems they could be getting sent back in the past rather than an alternate timeline, and that's because it says stuck in the past, racing to the future. So they have to race back to the future and figure out what the hell is going on and why this has happened inside Star Labs. And so let's move on to the next bit of the synopsis. Chester admits a secret to Allegra, which makes things awkward between the two, and Allegra relies on Cecile to act as buffer. This has been going on for too many episodes now. I'm going to be honest, it's not fun anymore seeing them being like super awkward. Like Chester is super into it, but Allegra is like weirdly awkward all the time, and there is no proper explanation as to why she's like this. Plus, why is she always relying on Cecile, and what's wrong about Chester admitting a secret? I think Allegra is just like not totally into this idea, and I don't know why the showrunner Eric Wallace and the writers are so adamant on telling this story. It's just pretty much filler in every episode that we have. It's like, okay, we don't have enough minutes in this episode, so let's do Allegra Chester bit. Oh, and let's make it super awkward between the two of those once again. So it's just like a tiresome kind of loop that we're going in terms of this story. And very interestingly, the end of the synopsis teases Keone meeting an old friend of Team Flash. So it's clearly someone that Keone has never met. It could be someone that Caitlin or Frost has met, but Keone wouldn't remember that because she's a completely different person. But an old friend of Team Flash. Who could this be? Well, we know the episode after this, as I mentioned before, episode 9, is going to be the big return of Green Arrow, as well as Kid Flash, John Diggle, and Bloodwork. So the old friend could very well be one of those characters that just appear towards the end of the episode. They have a conversation with Keone, and that leads into them being around the next episode. Let's go through them one by one. Bloodwork is not an old friend of Team Flash, so it's not going to be Bloodwork, that's for sure. Let's talk about Oliver Queen. So Oliver didn't really have like a super close relationship with either Frost or Caitlin, so I don't know why Keone would meet with Oliver specifically. And so I'm going to say Oliver's less likely than the others. Probably Diggle is a high chance, or Kid Flash. And that's because they did have a bigger relationship than Oliver or even Bloodwork, which Bloodwork's never going to be a thing, but that would make more sense. However, the one I'm going for right now is none of those people that has been confirmed to be in the next episode after that. I'm thinking because of all the timeline anomalies and all the time travel in this episode, it would make sense if Team Flash somehow reached out to Timeless Wells. We know Timeless Wells is returning later in the season. There's been some behind the scenes photos that have been posted. Tom Cavanaugh is seen in the background, not as Reverse Flash, but as Timeless Wells. So he's definitely returning in this season towards the end of the season. But what's to say he doesn't show up in an earlier episode, even just for a tiny bit, to talk to Keone? And he makes the most sense because yes, Timeless Wells is Timeless Wells and Keone doesn't know him, but he has the knowledge, and that is his whole power set, the fact that he is all to do with time travel and timelines. So if they're able to somehow reach out to him, he would be the perfect person to try and resolve the situation that Barry and Iris and everyone else at Star Labs finds themselves in, and that would obviously lead on to him returning later in the season. But the specifics of this, in terms of them saying it's Keone, maybe it's actually not to do with Barry and Iris and their current predicament. Maybe it's specifically to do with Keone trying to find out answers to do with herself and her power set. So maybe if it is Timeless Wells, he has some insight as to her powers and how she could actually navigate around using her powers out in the field and helping Team Flash, because it's quite clear that she wants to help, but as of right now she's not really had any sort of grapple over her powers, and so maybe this is just her storyline in this episode and she somehow gets a hold of Timeless Wells. She would probably have to be notified by someone of his existence because she doesn't know him, so logically it just wouldn't make a lot of sense if she was the one to reach out. And so yeah, that pretty much does it for this breakdown of episode 8 of season 9. But let's quickly talk about Timeless Wells returning at the end of the season, because there is surely a reason that he is going to be back. Now, I don't know specifically what episode he's returning, but as far as I'm aware, because these photos were posted and a lot of the cast posted like a bunch of photos towards the end of shooting, I'm gonna guess it's like the final episode or the second to last episode. We know Reverse Flash, Tom Cavanaugh, is going to be in the last episode anyway as his other character, but considering how big of a character Wells has been in the past, it would really make sense for Team Flash to try and bring back Timeless Wells just at least one more time. However, that's not me saying I think they're just going to bring him back for like nostalgia's sake. There's going to be a reason to get him back, and that's probably because of him being Timeless Wells. You guys remember back in season 7 when he was able to create a protective time bubble around the timeline, and it was a way to preserve history while still allowing the forces to be, you know, wiped from existence. And so that was just a big way of helping Team Flash to stop the forces back in season 7. And obviously he's able to travel back in time. He's able to like perceive different points of time and kind of show up at different periods. And so he's been living back with his wife Tess because that was all taken away from him. And so with Cobalt Blue being the villain towards the end of the season, it seems that they're probably going to need his help, because Cobalt Blue is definitely time related. He's time traveling. We've seen that in behind the scenes photos and everything. So if they need someone's help in terms of the time travel or the timeline aspects, they're probably going to ask for Timeless Wells. And so I think that's where he comes in the finale, but also maybe in episode 8 that we've been theorizing about, because he could help out with the situation with Barry and Iris. But I also think he could give some valuable advice to Keone in episode 8 as well, and so I figure it's probably going to be him. But let me know, what do you guys think down in the comments below, and if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, also subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. We're uploading daily right now, and as I said, later tonight Superman Lois is on. We're going to be doing my review / breakdown for episode 2 after the episode airs, so stick around for that. And also we'll be live streaming tomorrow, so come tune in at 9 PM UK time, and we can talk about all the latest in terms of Arrowverse and DC. So for now, thank you guys so much for watching. You can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and so I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.
I see red.